Throughout his prolific Hollywood career, American actor and filmmaker Edward Norton has received many awards, nominations, and accolades for his work. He first found fame in the 90s after earning high marks for his powerful portrayal of a psychopathic altar boy named Aaron Stampler in the 1996 thriller Primal Fear. But in case you haven't noticed, in the last decade or so, Norton has appeared in fewer and fewer films. This could be because he has earned a rather nasty reputation for being pretentious and notoriously difficult to work with. Join us as we investigate why Edward Norton seemingly has vanished from the spotlight. Norton's reputation for being challenging to work with. Rumors about Edward Norton's off-putting on-set behavior have been making the rounds since the early 2000s. After he landed his first breakout role in Primal Fear, Norton agreed to sign a 3-picture deal with Paramount. Once Primal Fear hit theaters and his popularity skyrocketed, he was bombarded with movie offers, and Paramount found it challenging to get him to honor his commitment to them. He reportedly turned down numerous roles the studio offered to instead appear in pictures produced by other studios. Eventually, Norton was able to renegotiate his 3-film deal with Paramount just down to 1. But even then, the studio struggled to get the young actor to cooperate. While he did eventually appear in the 2003 Paramount film The Italian Job, it reportedly took a great deal of legal finagling to get him to commit. Although Paramount obviously had their reasons for disliking Norton, there also emerged reports that Norton clashed with the director of American History X, Tony Kaye. The Guardian ran an article written by Kaye in 2002 in which he revealed that after Norton first saw the film, he didn't like it. Apparently, Norton then used his star power to get the studio to agree to him making his own cut. In the end, it was Norton's cut that ended up finding its way into theaters, much to Kaye's embarrassment. Kaye was quoted in that article as saying the final cut of his film that the studio and Norton put out was, quote, crammed with shots of everyone crying in each other's arms. Kaye went on to say that Norton also gave himself significantly more screen time. He fought over Fight Club. Director David Fincher's adaptation of Chuck Palahniuk's hit novel debuted in theaters in 1999 with Ed Norton, Brad Pitt, and Jared Leto in its lead roles. The film went on to become a cultural sensation and is now considered a late 20th century classic. While the world seemed to take to Fight Club like kittens to milk, behind the scenes there was reportedly a great deal of dissent over the film's creative decisions. IndieWire reported that Fincher and Norton clashed over just how much humor there should be in the film. Fincher told the outlet in 2019 Norton really wanted to drive the point home to the audience that the movie was meant to be seen as a comedy, while he wanted to be much more subtle with the distinctly dark, deadpan humor. Norton later confirmed that Fincher ultimately had the final word on all creative decisions for the film. In 2020, Edward told CNN that the one suggestion he made ended up getting shot down by Fincher. In an interview with Yahoo in 2020, actress Janeane Garofalo alleged that Norton cost her the role of Marla in the movie. The part instead went to Helena Bonham Carter. Garofalo claims she met with Fincher to discuss the possibility of doing the role, but was later told it was instead going to Norton's girlfriend at the time, Courtney Love. Evidently, Norton didn't think Garofalo had what it took to play Marla, but no one bothered to tell her that. Speaking to CNN, Norton denied Garofalo's allegation, calling it, quote, really mistaken. Norton's beef with Marvel. 10 years after American History X hit theaters, Norton found himself in the middle of yet another creative tiff after being cast as Bruce Banner in the 2008 superhero flick The Incredible Hulk. The film was the second installment in Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. During this same phase, Marvel produced films like Iron Man and Captain America: The First Avenger. When Norton was hired for the role, he was also asked to rewrite parts of the film's script that were previously penned by Zach Penn. Reportedly, Norton's additions included a ton of dialogue and character motivation. After initial filming wrapped, Marvel wasn't thrilled with what they saw and indicated they wanted the movie to be shorter and more action-filled. This conflict of interest led to Norton and Marvel's feud going public just before The Incredible Hulk's first teaser trailer was released. The director, Louis Leterrier, told Entertainment Weekly the feud was just as much Marvel's fault as it was Norton's. He likewise claimed some responsibility for the contentious situation, while expressing regret that Norton and Marvel couldn't come to some kind of agreement in which everyone could have worked together more harmoniously. Norton ended up releasing a statement in which he claimed the media had overly sensationalized the matter. In a post on Facebook, he stated he and Marvel's healthy process was misrepresented publicly as a dispute to sell a story. He was replaced as the Hulk. Norton's beef with Marvel over The Incredible Hulk led to the film's release being delayed, something the studio was not happy about. When the news broke that the part of the Hulk had been recast and handed over to Mark Ruffalo for the sequel, Norton initially expressed some disappointment. In another Facebook post, Norton said he had sincerely hoped he would have been invited back to reprise the role. Edward claimed such a decision would have been, quote, great for everyone, but he wrapped up his post by saying that it hadn't turned out as well as everyone hoped. A few years later, however, Norton was singing a different tune. By then, he was making it sound more like he never wanted to continue on in the role in the first place. In an interview with NPR in 2014, he claimed he had experienced everything he wanted to with the franchise and was ready to move on. He told the outlet he didn't want to find himself in a position where he was typecast after doing a role more than once. It's rumored he was blacklisted from Hollywood. While it's been speculated that Norton's finicky behavior and combativeness led to him getting blacklisted, that's likely not the case. He has historically been very selective about the roles he chooses, and he has in fact appeared in a handful of roles in the past few years, including Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance and Motherless Brooklyn. He's also done some voice acting for animated features like Sausage Party and Little Door Gods. Additionally, he worked with Wes Anderson on his 2018 stop-motion film Isle of Dogs. Most recently, he portrayed New York tech billionaire Miles Braun in the 2022 film Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. Clearly, Norton hasn't been completely barred from appearing in Hollywood movies, but still, it's obvious he no longer is appearing in nearly as many flicks as he used to, especially big-budget blockbuster ones. More than likely, he's taken a step back to prioritize his family life. In 2012, he married his longtime girlfriend, Shauna Robertson. They welcomed their first son, Atlas, a year later. Norton has told reporters that his ambitions have changed since becoming a father. In 2015, he told The Independent that after engaging in other things besides acting, he's found himself in a position where he's only interested in pulling himself away from the other elements in his life when there are roles that cross a certain threshold. He wrapped up by saying that while his ambition was previously unilaterally focused on acting, it isn't any longer. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Norton is acting less these days because people don't like him in Hollywood, or because he's chosen not to? Let us know in the comments section below.